Hey everybody, this is Gil and John from the Sync Center. We are glad to announce the commencement and beginning of Syncs and Drinks. Hey everybody, this is Gil and John from the Sync Center. Welcome to Syncs and Drinks, a program where we review real projects from both sides of the real transaction, the music supervisor side and the rights holder side. So make yourself a drink. We are talking syncs. The first topic of today for episode 1, we're going to be speaking on the sync ecosystem, who's who in the zoo. So this is the key players in the industry and projects, what are their pain points and what we should be expecting. And throughout this entire episode, feel free to write any, comments, questions, and things that we can answer, some advice. So, John, how are we feeling today?
I'm feeling great. How are you doing in Florida, Gil?
Oh, God. Cannot complain. It's
Yeah,
only 100 degrees out.
it's about 98 here in Nashville. So,
so it's kind of, low heat pretty much everywhere.
yeah, I love it. Hey, first things first, what are you drinking there?
My basic, I cannot complain with it. My rum on the rocks,
All
Diplomatico Reserva,
Very
straight out of
nice.
Venezuela. Great stuff.
A little lighter here. What is this? A little strawberry watermelon prime. I snagged it for my son. He loves this, loves this stuff. Yeah. So, hey, let's do a little bit of housekeeping as we have a ton of new members that have signed up over the last couple of weeks. Just want to welcome Tim Jeffcoat, Desh Hark, Mark Eckert, Vincent Levy Bryant, Semigal Jackson, and Jason Moffett. Those are the ones that came up recently. There's a bunch more, but welcome aboard to the hacking music community. If you're not a member of the hacking music community, it's hacking music is our training system, and within the community, this is kind of our go-to hub where we have free events like this, the Syncs and Drinks, and then we have the supervisor sync community, the sync school, hacking music training, and it's all about building real careers in the real world and avoiding some of the patty cake play stuff that kind of confuses artists rather than motivates them and builds real careers in the real world. So another thing too, we had a couple questions last week from some members who didn't have the passcode. So the passcode is no longer being used. So anybody with a link can jump in, and as you RSVP, you get that link. So
Awesome.
yeah. Also, Gil, do you want to talk a little bit about the Miami Syncs and Drinks meetup?
Absolutely.
What we're talking about.
So John and myself, we've been brainstorming and planning a Sync Center meetup in Miami. So if any listeners, any audience members have an idea or just like a little tip on some places where we can meet up and, use that location for just a real life Syncs and Drinks, not just from computer to computer.
Yeah.
Please feel free to jot that in the comments.
Yeah, we've got a short list started already. But all of our members have ideas and community in the area, feel free to suggest them, and we may end up having the event there. Also, the next Sync School is coming up. This is a 5-day training we do each month. We'll talk a little bit about that later, but that's an immersive 5-day training where we go deep in sync supervision and clearance, how to get hired, how to manage projects, how to negotiate, how to onboard filmmakers. It's basically how we work at the Sync Center distilled down into a really packed 5-day training. And it's funny, Gil, because from the last cohort we did of the Sync School, like 70% of the students have been hired full-time at networks and other national entities. So it's been amazing.
It's a lot cheaper than college. I'll tell you that.
And it's funny. And then we've had like 4 networks reach out to us saying, "Hey, we're looking for young, hungry professionals who understand the sync space." And so, not to give away the goods, but we're actually going to be all our graduates who complete the sync school. We're going to be sharing all those graduates with the hiring managers at some places like Showtime, ESPN, Fox Sports. So if that's something you're interested in, we'll be talking a little bit about that later in the episode.
Absolutely.
So
We were talking about it, the ecosystem, who's
yeah,
who in the zoo.
right.
So, when we're exploring the sync ecosystem, we encounter a lot of roles from music supervisors to publishers. Like, walk us through the key players in this imaginary zoo and how do they collaborate?
Yeah. Yeah, that's a great question. And I think what may be helpful there, Gil, is to pull a section out of a recent training we did in the supervisors sync community. So let me share my screen and we can kind of jump in there. Hold on one sec. And also, too, if anybody has any questions, feel free to put them in the chat, whether you're on live real time or you're watching in your own time zone. You can just either put them in the chat or comment below, and then we'll get back to you.
ASAP.
Yes. So I think a great way to think about that is just to back up one step and to talk about, we call it like a tale of two trees. And it works like this. Most people are really passionate about music supervision, right? They got good instincts. They have a lot of ideas. They love music. And that's a really great place to start. But what most people miss, and especially kind of beginning supervisors and licensing professionals really, is they don't see what's happening underneath the iceberg. So the stuff like relationship building, negotiations, budgets, music replacement, invoicing, communications, processes, legal, messaging and marketing. How do you consistently get new projects to work on? Those are the things that, this is kind of the boring stuff down here that makes this stuff possible. So the passion's important. You have to have great instincts. You have to really love people and film and music. But this is the stuff that kind of turns it into a career. So that's kind of what where we're going as we answer this. And really there's kind of two trees here. The first tree is this tree, right? It has roots, it's healthy, it's not going anywhere, right? It's solid. Then you have a tree like this who has thin roots, maybe made it for a couple years, but the wind came along and destroyed the tree. And this is really how a lot of supervisors and music professionals are. They're kind of like that tree that had thin roots, right? So here's kind of like beginning supervisors. They're really passionate about music, but they're really weak in landing projects. Maybe they're weak in negotiations or access to rights holders or processes and music replacement. So this is not where you want to be. Where you want to be is something like this, to where you're really strong in a lot of the areas here: landing projects, legal, music replacement, negotiation, communicating to rights holders. This is kind of what we're about at the Sync Center. A lot of people have the passion, and that's a good place to start. But what we want to do is we want to take them from just thinking about music supervision or talking about it to really moving them over here into working on projects with people that are maybe 5 or 10 years ahead of them. And then eventually what that looks like is they're mastering something. So as students come in to the Sync School, they're over here on the left, and we take them through what we call this N. This is a framework we use a lot into really doing things and acting and working on those early projects and not overthinking it. A lot of people kind of get stuck in their head and just learn. We want to do, take steps, execute, take action on real projects. And that's really how you learn. You learn by doing. You don't learn by, scrolling YouTube for 2 hours a day. Does that make sense, Gil?
Yeah, absolutely.